Personalized Learning Comparison by Janelle Bean. The four visions I researched were Vermont's Agency of Education, Henry County Schools, Pinellas County Schools in Florida, and New Hampshire's Department of Education. The U.S. Department of Education's definition of what personalized learning is as what you can see. Competency-based learning, or personalized learning, is a transitioning away from seat time in favor of a structure that creates flexibility, allows students to progress as they demonstrate mastery of academic content, regardless of time, place, or pace of learning. New Hampshire's Department of Education is the only one that used this definition as their official definition of what personalized learning is. The other visions used a variation of this definition created in their own words. The similarities that I noticed between all of the visions I researched are student agency, where students are expected to take ownership of their learning, mastery dispositions, which is a competency of content learned, flexible, student preferences and interests influence content, learners and educators plan together, and learners' data helps to guide teachers knowing when their students should progress to the next area or level of content. Learner voice, allowing learners to voice their concerns and interests to guide competency and mastery of content. Asynchronous environment, providing an anywhere and anytime learning environment. And learner profiles, used to guide educators in knowing where students stand based on data kept on students' progress, allowing for goals to be set to further personalize the student's education to encourage success. The differences I noticed. In Henry County, they mentioned that the foundation of personalized learning should be students' agency. If the students are not held accountable for their education, especially in a personalized learning environment, we're doing them a disservice as educators. Personalized learning is fueled by student ownership. In Henry County's explanation of personalized learning, they mentioned 5 essential elements: learner profiles, competency-based learning, authentic learning experiences, 21st century skills, and tech-enabled. The last 3, authentic learning experiences, 21st century skills, and tech-enabled, Henry County was the only one to mention anything related to authentic learning experiences or technology-based skills. It's important that all schools, even if personalized learning isn't what they're doing just yet, to focus on including technology within their visions. Technology is ever present in our society, and we as educators should make a point to prepare our children not just for our class, but for their future outside of school, which will most likely include some form of technology skills. New Hampshire's Department of Education made a point to include their graduation expectations for their schools. Graduation based on mastery of required graduation competencies. Credits are received on the demonstration of district and/or graduation competencies. And they also mentioned plans for looping education. They're the only ones to have included this information in their vision. Their mention of looping education was more of a plan for their future in including personalized learning within their school systems. They didn't go in depth in regards to looping education. For Pinellas County Schools, they listed the benefits that personalized learning would have or do have on students, which is that it empowers students, enabling them to drive their own learning. Students are engaged so that they can take an active role in their education. They participate in planning and setting goals, which leads to better student outcomes. Their pace is customized to the student's needs and capabilities, and their progress is monitored on an ongoing basis. They also included within their vision ITEC's 11 components of personalized learning. The first 6 they labeled as expected pedagogy: standards-based or world-class instruction, differentiated student-centered instruction, immediate instructional interventions, and supports for each student is on demand or when needed. Deeper learning and problem-solving to deepen meaning, frequent feedback from instructors and peers, and safe, equitable learning environment. And the last 5 components are targeted towards personalized learning: student agency, ownership of one's learning, anywhere, anytime learning, individual student profiles or portfolios, flexible pacing, and performance-based assessments. The strengths that are noted within these visions are that they included these 4 components: student agency, making students responsible for their education; flexible content, preferences and interests help guide students' content and learners and educators plan together; mastery disposition with regard to competency, can students show that they have mastered the content learned; and growth driven, it's not about success versus failure, but what they have mastered. And the weaknesses that I noted within these 4 visions of personalized learning were the authentic and adaptive assessments in regard to digital intelligences were not mentioned except slightly with Henry County's essential elements of personalized learning, where they included 21st century skills and technology. In this day and age, making sure our students are competent in using technology to assess their knowledge is key. Expanded collaboration, which is a looping of their education, was mentioned lightly by New Hampshire's Department of Education. This is a difficult concept because how can this be successfully implemented when looping requires teachers to move with their students? I'm not sure that this would work in a middle or high school, but it could work in elementary schools. Mastery disposition with reference to time. New Hampshire's Department of Education, their vision, mentioned changing the traditional 4 years of high school to possibly 3 or 5, depending on the students' needs, since their graduation requirements have changed in how students receive their credits, as mentioned before. And finally, dynamic communication was not mentioned except that students should receive frequent feedback from their teachers and their peers. My vision for personalized learning includes the following 5 components, which I used from the 4 visions I researched, as well as information we learned about personalized learning from this module. Student ownership or students' agency is important because if students are not held accountable for their education, how are they going to fare in a real world when they have expectations and deadlines? Students should be advocates of their own education, using their voice to pursue their interests, needs, and concerns. Personalized learning should also be student-centered. There should be student-centered instruction, which allows for a more personalized learning experience for the students since it will be tailored to their needs and interests to engage them in the content they are learning. It should also be flexible. Flexibility is necessary, especially with the variety of students we have in school. Some students are able to move forward at a faster rate once showing mastery, rather than others who move at a slower rate. So why wait? It goes hand in hand with making instruction student-centered. Authentic learning, environment, and experiences. Making a student's education meaningful to them is key because if they're invested, they're engaged and willing to learn and participate in their education. Performance-based assessments. Assessing students on how they use the content they have learned using various modes, as we're doing in this class, is key, especially in my class of learning a foreign language. I tell my students every year that I want to know what they have learned rather than how good of a guesser they are when it comes to assessing them, because they always expect a test of multiple choice. And it should also be tech-enabled. Technology should be incorporated into our students' learning in all classes. We live in a day and age where technology is present at all times. Our students should be prepared with skills that will allow them to succeed in the real world when it comes to using technology for various things. While investigating personalized learning, I came across this article by Education Weekly on states take steps to fuel personalized learning, and it resonated with me. There's a quote by Julia Freeland Fisher, who's the Director of Education of the Clayton Christensen Institute, and she says, one of the dangers is that we treat personalized learning as a tweak to the traditional system. Personalized learning cannot be seen this way. It involves too many variables to be seen as a tweak or change to the already established and outdated education system our country incorporates. It's a complete overhaul of the thinking of how our students should learn, and personalized learning tailors the student's learning experience to suit their needs and interests. rather than having a one-size-fits-all scenario. And lastly are my references.